Well, hey there, and welcome to the Intentional Midlife Mom podcast. We are here to talk about the freedom of less. Hey, I'm your host, Jennifer Roskamp, and today we're talking about something that so many women struggle with, clutter. And this is actually part 2 in this podcast series. If you did not listen to the episode last week, we talked about some clutter languages, meaning 3 of the most common reasons that women struggle with clutter. So that would be really helpful for you to listen to that episode first, and then come back and join us here. But if you're like, yeah, no, I just want to hear today, that's okay too. Well, today's episode isn't about why clutter is a problem. Again, that was in part 1. It's about what you gain when you finally take control of it. Because let's be real, clutter has a way of weighing us down, making us feel stuck, overwhelmed, and constantly behind. But here's the truth. When you clear the clutter, you're not just making space in your home, you're making space in your mind, your schedule, your energy, and even your future. And if you've ever thought, I want to get organized, but I don't even know where to start, I've got something really exciting for you. My upcoming Clutter Control Workshop is going to walk you through exactly what to do step by step, so you can finally take action without feeling overwhelmed. But before I tell you more about that, let's dive into what really happens when you start clearing the clutter, because it's so much more than just having a tidy home. And with that, let's jump in and get started.
Well, hey there, I am Jennifer Roskamp, a certified life coach and homeschool mom of 9 who is passionate about helping women just like you embrace the here and now while also being focused on creating the life you actually want. As a midlife mom in her 40s, about to be a mom in my 50s, I've realized that it's so easy to lose yourself in caring for your family, your home, and all the things. Until one day you realize you're not even sure who you are anymore or what you even want in life. So on this podcast, we're going to work on managing yourself well so that you can manage all of the other things and people well too. So let's dive into what it means to manage your home, your time, your family, and yourself well. This is the Intentional Midlife Mom podcast.
Well, you might be one of the types of people who have had clutter for a long time. And if that's the case, number one, I want to say, know that you're not alone. There are so many women out there who have hung on to things because they don't know where to start, because they're emotionally tied to it, because they might use it again someday, because the thought of knowing what to keep and what to get rid of, it's paralyzing. And so there are actually 10 common reasons that women struggle with clutter. And I talk to women about these things every single day with my coaching clients. I used to only kind of focus on 5 different clutter languages. And those are still, I think, the most common reasons why women hang on to clutter. But in working closely with women every single day on clutter, I've come to discover 5 more. And they include things like the one day thinker, right? Like, I might be this person one day, right? I might use that. Someday those clothes are going to fit me again, right? Of course, there's the overthinker. There's perceived value. There's so many good nuggets. So if you haven't listened to last week's episode yet, make sure that you make time to do that. It is so, so good. So there is this mental and emotional freedom that comes when you have less. And again, if you're stuck in the clutter cycle right now, you probably feel the exact opposite. You feel as though you are being mentally and emotionally strangled by your clutter almost. And one of the biggest shifts that happens when you take control of your clutter, it isn't just in your home in that way. It's in your mind, and in some ways it's in your heart too. Because less clutter equals more clarity. When your space is filled with stuff, your brain is constantly processing it. It's processing it as unfinished business. It's like running a dozen background apps on your phone. It drains your mental energy. So here's something interesting about me. I am one of those people, and I think you're either one or the other. You're either one of these persons with a computer, you're either one of these people who likes your desktop to be nice and neat and tidy, right? You use one window, you close it before you go to another website, right? You finish what you're doing and you exit off. I am the exact opposite. I'm the type of person who has 1,000 tabs open on my screen on my computer. It drives my family nuts. And honestly, I know I put my computers through the ringer because I do that. But I know with all of those tabs open, I know that it is draining my battery. I know that it is draining the power that my computer has. And your space filled with stuff does the same thing. And often we know the same thing. We know that it is causing us problems, but we just keep operating that way anyway. And so it's really important to understand that you are being drained by your clutter. And it's not just because your eyeballs see it. It's because of this mental and emotional taxation that happens. The second that you start clearing your space, it really is the second you start clearing your space, your brain, something just kind of unlocks in your brain. Your brain begins to feel lighter. Decision-making, it gets easier. And you actually have the mental capacity to focus on what really matters. I want to say that again. If you're a woman who feels like you are constantly being drained, your mental capacity, it's just not there, and you have clutter, I want to encourage you to understand and to accept that there is a strong tie between those two things. So I'm going to say that again. Your mental capacity begins to focus on what really matters when you begin clearing the clutter. In reality, and put very simply, less clutter equals less stress. So science shows that clutter increases cortisol levels. And I don't know about you, but as a middle-aged menopausal woman, I see talk about cortisol levels everywhere right now. So clutter increases those cortisol levels. And this is, what are those? Well, it's basically your body's stress hormone. And so a cluttered space equals a cluttered mind equals constant low-grade stress that wears you down equals cortisol levels rising. Again, this isn't really my wheelhouse. I have not researched this, not really interested in researching this. But again, as a midlife woman, I see all kinds of ads targeted at me telling me that increased cortisol levels can hinder weight loss. And if you're someone who's trying to lose weight or even get healthier and you have a lot of stress in your life, cortisol levels sounds like could be playing a role. And so again, in that way, if we know clutter creates stress, you wouldn't think of clutter as something that is hindering weight loss. But if the science says that it is, well, the science says that it is. Just something to think about. I say it so often. Our life is not compartmentalized. Your clutter problem isn't just a clutter problem. It is affecting and creating and adding fuel to other problems, other stressors, other things that affect you in a negative way as well. So decluttering in that way can be a form of self-care. Now, again, when we think of self-care so often, at least when I talk to women, we think that means we have to take an hour out of our schedule to spend, relaxing, taking a bubble bath, taking a rest. And I'm not saying that self-care isn't those things, but has anyone before ever told you that decluttering is a form of self-care? Probably not. Because when we think about decluttering, we think about having to do work. And there's a time where self-care means the opposite of work. But there's also a time where self-care can mean work. But imagine if you were finally able to start having more mental clarity, less emotional overload, because you began decluttering. In that way, it becomes a form of self-care. Every time you let go of something unnecessary, you are making a powerful choice. I deserve calm. I deserve peace. I deserve clarity. I deserve a home that I love. You are making a powerful choice in prioritizing yourself, your mental care, your emotional care, and the home that is your safe space. So clutter doesn't just steal your peace, it also steals your motivation. When you clear clutter, you create momentum. So the first thing that you gain, let me just clarify, let me just make this a super easy note-taking process for you. The first thing you gain when you clear clutter is mental and emotional freedom, mental and emotional clarity, mental and emotional breakthroughs. The second thing you're going to gain is productivity and motivation, because clutter steals your motivation. When you clear clutter, you create momentum. Let me ask you this. Have you ever noticed that when you finally clean up one space, you suddenly feel more motivated to do other things, completely unrelated things sometimes? And that's because clutter drags down your energy. And once it's gone or on its way out, you feel a surge of action-taking energy. And by the way, if this is your first time listening to the Intentional Midlife Mom podcast, welcome. We're so glad you're here. If you've listened to other episodes of the Intentional Midlife Mom podcast, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. While we're talking about motivation, I want to let you know I've got episodes on motivation as well. So if you struggle with motivation, make sure you go find the motivation episodes. They're so, so good. There's one that talks about how to be motivated in 10 minutes or less. That one's really popular. But all that to say, you create momentum, which means that you can find motivation to do other things. Clutter drags down your energy, and once it's gone, you feel this action-taking energy take root. In this way, it's kind of like removing an invisible weight. You suddenly have the drive to do things you've been putting off for months. So you create momentum. The second thing you gain in terms of productivity and motivation is that you get back perhaps hours of your life. How does this work? Well, think about how much time you waste searching for lost items, shuffling things around. Shuffling things around, that's really a thing, isn't it? I've got to clear the pile off the counter so I can make dinner, so I put it on the table. But then we need to use the table, so I position it, I move it, I shuffle it from the table to the end table in the living room or to the living room couch. But then we want to be in the living room later, so then I have to shuffle it back to the kitchen counter. Or maybe it goes to the hall table or wherever it goes. We're shuffling it around. Or you're also wasting time moving piles, again, from one place to another. Sometimes we just create so much added work by creating these piles and not taking care of them nearly often enough. And then they multiply. I don't know how that happens, but it does. But you also get back time because taking back control of your space really gives you, again, that mental clarity, which helps you make decisions faster. It helps you figure out problems faster. It helps you move things around in your life faster. Mental clarity means you're going to be able to make decisions with more ease, with more clarity, and more easily, which means time. So often I hear from women, I don't have time for this, that, or the other thing. This is a way that you can create time. We don't get more than 24 hours in a day. That is true. But there are things that we can do to create time for ourselves. And this is one of them. Managing your clutter can create time. Because taking control of your space, it gives you back time that you often don't even realize that you were losing. Now, before you say, I want time, I want to create time, but how do I do that? Let me just give you one quick tip. If you feel stuck in your clutter, start with just one small space. If you resonated with the shuffling of the piles from one place to another, can you take care of one of those piles? Even one cleared surface can trigger motivation to keep going. So in this way, taking care of your clutter can help boost your productivity and your motivation. The third thing that clutter can help you gain when you start managing it better, start taking care of it, is emotional wins. Because clearing clutter isn't just about organization. It's about stepping into a new version of yourself. This is especially true if you're hanging on to a bunch of things from a long time ago, maybe a different phase of your life, a different season of your life. But it's so hard to acknowledge that a season closes sometimes. This is where I'm at. I'm not having any more babies. There are no more children who will be joining our family. The cool thing is that I now have grandkids, though. So I think this has helped me in stepping into this new season of life. But I was having babies for almost 20 years. That was a huge chapter of my life, and it's been a gradual process of me learning to accept that and actually welcome this new season of life. I'm erring on that side now. I'm stepping into the side of it where I'm actually kind of excited about that on the beginning phases of that. But it is true, though, for us, especially those of us who are sentimental or emotional keeper, letting go of clutter, especially to us, it feels like letting go of older versions of yourself. This can be both good and bad. Sometimes we hold on to things out of guilt. Gifts we don't love, things that aren't our taste, clothes that don't fit. Again, items from past seasons of our life, and they affect who we are now. We're allowing who we used to be to play a major role in who we are now, and not in a healthy way. When you clear that clutter out, you make space for the woman that you are now and the woman that you are so much trying to become. So in this way, we get this emotional win because we're allowing ourselves to be who we are now and to create who we want to be in the future. That's one benefit. A second emotional win benefit is that your home becomes a place of peace, not a source of stress. Imagine waking up and not feeling instantly behind. Imagine walking into your kitchen and not feeling overwhelmed before you've even started the day. Imagine coming home and actually feeling calm instead of drained. And here's something to think about. If your clutter is keeping you from inviting people over, from feeling comfortable in your own home, from relaxing at the end of the day, what is your clutter actually costing you? So, emotional wins. That's the third gain that you will get from managing your clutter. And I've got one fourth and final thing to talk about here. And that is how you can start taking action today. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about this Clutter Control Workshop. So I know that getting started, it can feel overwhelming. In reality, you don't need another Pinterest perfect, totally down to the moment cleaning routine or a one-size-fits-all system that actually doesn't fit your life. And that's exactly why I created the Clutter Control Workshop. I created it to give you a simple, realistic way to start decluttering and see real progress without burning out. Let me tell you the secret, and I'm going to give you the biggest key right now that you need to starting to deal with your clutter. The biggest key, and probably the missing piece if you have tried to manage your clutter before, is the fact that you have got to know why the clutter is there in the first place. And this is where these clutter languages come in. And again, I've got a total of 10 of them, and I'm actually sharing what all 10 of them are with you. I've got a clutter language tool for you. I've got it, it's free and it's linked down in the show notes. Make sure that you grab that, because when you grab that free language discovery tool, you are going to be on the list to get information for my Clutter Control Workshop when it opens. It is going to be something I'm teaching live, but there will also be replays, so you can do it on your own time. It is an exclusive workshop inside my private coaching community, and all the details you need will be emailed to you as long as you are on the Clutter Interest list, which you can get by grabbing the clutter tool I've got linked for you down in the show notes. So the biggest key, the biggest piece that you've got to know is what your clutter language is. And it might be more than one clutter language. A lot of times we identify with more than one. But it starts with you having to know what your clutter language is so that you know how to solve for that problem. I often talk about how so often we are treating or masking the symptoms. We've got a problem. In context here, it's a clutter problem. And so we just try to solve the clutter problem. But in reality, if you don't know why it's there, you are going to fizzle out in your progress. Have you ever started dealing with your clutter before, but not finished it? How many times have you started trying to deal with it in some way, only to just eventually give up and feel overwhelmed again, or feel paralyzed again, or feel discouraged, or bored, or lose your motivation? The reason this has happened is because you did not know your clutter language. You did not understand your relationship with the clutter. Because someone like me and these Pinterest tools and all of these amazing schedules and decluttering this, that, or the other thing, they're all amazing tools. But if you don't know how to use the tool, or you are not using the correct tool for your clutter problem, it's not going to work. So that focus, the focus on your actual struggle with clutter, is the key piece in the Clutter Control Workshop. So also inside the workshop, you're going to learn, again, your clutter language, but also the mindset shifts that make decluttering easier so that you're not stuck in guilt or indecision. You'll also get the exact step-by-step method to start clearing the clutter according to your clutter language without feeling overwhelmed. You're also going to learn how to create a system that keeps your home from getting out of control again. And again, the best part is that you don't have to do it alone. This isn't just about getting rid of stuff. It's about finally feeling free in your home. I'm going to be there with you. Other people in the workshop are going to be there with you. Other people in my larger coaching community are going to be there with you. And we are going to be discussing what we learn in the workshop and how we are implementing and applying it all month long during the month of March. During spring cleaning season, we're going to be gaining insight, encouragement, accountability, support, excitement. We're going to be gaining all of that with each other as a community. Imagine being able to finally move forward in your clutter with a coach, that's me, and with a community. That's all the amazing women in my coaching community. It's called Accomplished Lifestyle. Again, details will come once registration opens. It's not open yet, but it's going to be real soon. So make sure that you have grabbed the clutter freebie down below so that you can get all the information you need. So I'm so excited that you were here today. If today's episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it. Tell us leave us a review. Leave us a comment. You can even leave me some fan mail. Let me know. Tell me what clutter you're ready to tackle first. Putting it out there, declaring your intent to deal with your clutter, it's the biggest step. It is such a powerful step. So if you are ready to stop spinning your wheels and finally make progress on your clutter, learn what your clutter language is. Start there. You can get that part. You can start. Now, I will expand on each of these clutter languages a whole lot in the workshop. But this kind of gives you a preview and helps you maybe start to think about where you might fall. Grab that download. Grab that freebie download down below. And I would love to see you in the workshop. If clutter has been a problem for you for far too long, it doesn't have to stay that way. These are all of these three things we talked about here today are all the things that you will gain by finally starting to take action. You'll gain that mental and emotional freedom. You'll gain a productivity and motivation boost, and you'll create time for yourself. And you'll also create some emotional wins. All of those are waiting for you. All of those gains and so many more are waiting for you in the Clutter Control Workshop. We'll talk again soon. Make it an amazing day.